You are listening to the Decluttering Club Podcast, episode number 24. Today, we're talking about why perfect is keeping you stuck and what to do about
You're
it.
listening to the Decluttering Club Podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Mueller, and it's my mission to equip women to declutter their homes, their time, and their lives so that they can cherish what truly matters.
Hey, everybody. It's so good to have you back here. We have some really excellent content planned over the next 3 months. We have it all mapped out. And so today, and also in episode 25, in the next episode, I'm going to be covering the three main reasons, the three like high level reasons that people don't have success with decluttering and also with organizing. Okay, so we're going to kind of take it high level. I'm going to do some teaching and I'm going to give you the answers that you're going to need. Okay, are you ready? Buckle up. Let's go. All right, today we're going to be talking about two of those high level reasons. Right, and the first one is why perfect is keeping you stuck and what to do about it. You may know that perfect is keeping you stuck. You probably know that, but do you really know it? And do you know what to do about it? That is my question for you. Okay. How often have you said, that this decluttering stuff sounds good? Sounds all well and good for you, Sarah Mueller? Like, yeah, okay, fine, but not for me. Not for me. Because you don't understand. Like, my life is different. Like, it's not going to work for me. I want you to say to yourself, like, if this makes sense, I want you to say to yourself, yes, this is me. Okay. How many times have you ever said, I could never get rid of my wedding dress or get rid of that special blanket or let go of those, of that china or whatever it is, that special thing, right? We all have that special thing. That is something that everybody has, the things that they are super attached to, right? So if that's you, I don't want you to think anything is wrong with you. This is the stuff that happens, when I'm out in public, I'm meeting new people, maybe I'm on planes or I'm at events or, I'm at the grocery store. I literally like to talk to people like anywhere I go. And, I tell them what I do. They say I'm a declutter coach. And they're like, oh, I could never do that. And everybody thinks they're supposed to, by the way. They think I should do it, but I could never do it because I could never get rid of my, my wedding dress or, I'm just too attached. Okay. If this is you, no worries. I want to let you know you are perfectly normal. Okay. Now, I call this like when this happens, this is like going to the worst case scenario, right? When people hear what I do, they think immediately they're supposed to declutter. They think this is probably a good thing and they're not doing it. And so they are in the wrong, right? And they go to like the very hardest thing that they can possibly imagine decluttering. And then they think, well, that's not going to work out for me. And I'm like, well, we don't have to go there right away, do we? We don't have to go there, but this is what our brains do. Okay. And one of the things that our brains are designed to do is to keep us alive. Your brain is very invested in keeping you alive, which is a beautiful thing. We want to stay alive, right? We don't want to, walk out in front of the speeding bus. We don't want to fall off the cliff. We don't want our kids to, to fall down the stairs, right? It's good that our brains are looking for danger and trying to keep us alive. This is a good thing. But sometimes our brains don't really know what's dangerous and what's not. It's a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction, right? Your brain, if the bus is coming towards you and you're about to step off the curb, in the city, your brain isn't thinking. It is, it's reacting faster than a split second. There's no time to think. There's no logic involved there. Your brain just goes, "Oh, danger," and immediately you have jumped back before you know it. And that is what happens when people consider decluttering if they are not used to decluttering. They're like, that's a bad idea. That's dangerous for sure. And it's not for me. Okay. And this is what happens. Um, the other thing that happens is that people think, well, there is a way to do this. And I'm not doing it. So therefore, I'm in the wrong, but I don't want to. And so I'm completely stuck. Right. They think most people until you've been in my world for a little while, and then you know better. Most people, when they start decluttering, or even if they've tried for a while, they think there is a way to do this, and I'm doing it wrong. And here's what I'm going to tell you: there is no right way to do this. The only right way to declutter is the way that you are willing to declutter. And if you want to keep your wedding dress, you want to keep the china, you want to keep your collection of Beanie Babies or stamps or coins, I am all in. I am all in on you keeping the things that matter to you. Okay. But what I'm not all in on is if you tell me I really I'm so frustrated and I'm struggling and I hate my house and I really wish I could let go of some of these things, and you don't know how to do that. That is what I'm not all in on. And we kind of lump in the good with the bad. We think, I love my Beanie Babies, or I love my stamps, or I love my craft supplies, and therefore that means I can't let a thing go, right? We jump from the super specific to a very broad overview. And we think, well, I guess I'm out. It's not going to work for me. I can't let anything go. And, our brain goes from the specific to the very, very general and broad. And we think, not for me. And that is what I want to point out to you, right? Just because you could never get rid of XYZ doesn't mean that you can't get rid of anything, right? And when we take a step back, right, and we put our logical brain in control, when we're not like reacting in the moment, we can see, oh, huh, yeah, I guess I could get rid of things. And to tell you the truth, I promise you, every single one of you does declutter from time to time. You probably just don't notice it. You are getting rid of things. You're just not noticing it, and you're not taking credit for it. So you know how to declutter. You just don't know how to declutter enough so that you get the result that you want, right? So you're taking out the trash, you're getting rid of this and that, but maybe you're attached to some things, and also maybe don't know how to deal with the overwhelm. So don't tell yourself that you could never declutter, because you are decluttering, and don't tell yourself that there is a specific way to do it, because that's not true either. Okay. I want you to know there are no decluttering rules. And that is the beauty of when you declutter with me and with the Decluttering Club. We help you figure out, what are your rules? Like, how do you want to do this? And what is important to you? Because for most people, they haven't sat down and thought about it. And the things that they dearly love and that are super important to them are all mixed up in all the things that they don't really care about. And they just haven't taken the time to separate them out. So that's what we do. We help you separate things out. We help you take it one step at a time. We help you keep going when you've hit a slump, when you're in the messy middle. We teach you how to keep going. And that is everything. So there are no decluttering rules. Promise you. It's all made up, all of it. And you get to make whichever rules you want. Okay. So we always, always, always want you to be keeping the things that matter most to you. And when we declutter, we actually make room for those things, and we can find them and we can enjoy them, hopefully on a regular basis. And that is super important. All right. Now, the second thing I want to tell you in this podcast is so maybe you're bought in, right? You're like, okay, decluttering, maybe it's for me. Sounds kind of good. I'm open. I'm willing. Okay, like, tell me more. Okay, so once you have bought into the idea of decluttering, you're like, okay, might be good. I think I can do this. Then all of the internal obstacles come up. And this looks like, decluttering is a great idea, but not for me, because I am too busy. Or, like, I'm too sentimental. Oh, that's a good one, isn't it? Anyone else out there sentimental? Or I'm too much of a perfectionist. Or my body just won't let me. Okay. These are all internal obstacles. You might think, well, I like to have it done a certain way, and I just can't give things up. Here's what I want you to know about this. Okay. You are going to decide what decluttering looks like for you, not for anybody else, not the way your neighbor does it, not the way I do it, right? You are going to take these ideas, and you're going to adapt them to be the perfect fit for you, for your life, for the way you like to do things. You really, really can. This is 100% available to you. Um, I have a quote here from one of our members, and she was really struggling with this, and she came into our core membership, and she went through some of our training, and this is what she said. Her name was Marie. She said, "Wow, I just finished the core scary spaces training. Thank you, Sarah, for giving this information. The judgment and guilt are huge for me. I have been chipping away at my scary space, and it's not so scary anymore. My husband, who used to tell me to go through your crap, is now proud of me." And she goes on to say, "He told me last night that he sees a difference in our home." Wow, that is amazing. That is a beautiful story. And this is what I want for you. We make decluttering too hard. It doesn't have to be hard. In fact, I would venture to say that we have to make it easy, especially at the beginning. Otherwise, you're not going to do it. If it is too hard, and again, kind of goes back to some of the rules that you may think you're supposed to be following. If it's too hard, then you're going to bail. You're not going to want to do it. Right. Here's the thing about our brains. They want us to stay safe, right? They want us to stay alive. And our brains also need to see that other people are doing this, right? We need to see that this is something that other people do, other people just like us, and they do it successfully. And, they maintain it over time. Now, when I first started decluttering, I had literally no one to talk about this with. I had no examples. I had my sister. She'd already done it. She was a minimalist. I knew I didn't want to be a minimalist. So I knew that wasn't really for me. And she lived in another state, and this was kind of before Zoom and all of that. So I had zero models. I had no community that I could tap into to figure out, like, how do I want to do this? And so it was kind of a huge struggle. And also I had gotten a lot of resistance, at home. And so it was really, really hard. But however, when you have a community, and this is what we have now, we have this amazing community of all these people at different points in the decluttering journey. And so when you join our community, when you come into our community, you can see, and your brain will literally look around and go, "Oh, that person had a room, and my room looked like a lot like that. And that person is talking about her kitchen. And my kitchen looks like that sometimes too." And the more we see other people doing the thing that we want to do, the the more our danger signals come down, right? And our blood pressure like will literally come down when we see things happening in a group. This is why it is so effective to do things in groups. It's why we love doing things in groups, because our brains are like, is this a good idea? Is this even safe? Like, is this going to work? And we need to look to other people for the evidence before we have done it ourselves. Right? And once you've done it yourself and you've got some practice, then amazing, all good. You might not need the community nearly as much, but especially at the beginning, you really need to be able to look around and see, like, is this reasonable? Is it realistic? Because we all kind of think, well, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. And if I've lived this way for this long, then maybe there is no hope for me. But when you join our community, when you join our group, then you discover, oh my gosh, it absolutely is possible for me. So it's super important that you don't try to go this alone, right? Doing something on your own is super scary, very threatening. And again, that brain that looks out for danger is going to try and shut you down, and is going to try and convince you to go back to the way things were. Change is interpreted as danger and feels super scary, right? So we want to do as much as we can to remind ourselves there's no danger here. It just feels scary. We can get through it, and we'll baby step it, and we can have progress, and we'll get where we need to be eventually. All right. So if you want to make decluttering simple, don't do it alone. Period. Don't do it alone. Decluttering is simple when community paves the way, right? It's like, have you ever seen those the bike races where they'll have like a pack of guys, right? And they're riding on their bikes and they're going so fast. And I don't know, it's like 5 or 10 bicycles, and they're riding. What do? They actually ride in a pack almost up until the very end. Right? So they're riding, and they'll take turns in the lead. They'll take turns in the lead, and that is because the leader takes all of the wind and kind of like makes it all aerodynamic for everybody else. And they can set the pace together, and they can go together, and they encourage each other. Right? It's not until the end that one or two will break away. Right? They're going in a group because they all know, even though they're out to win for sure, they know that when they're in a group, when they're together, then they can get so much farther, so much faster. Right? And they have that safety as well. Okay. So again, decluttering, no rules. Super important. And every time your brain goes, oh, I should be doing it that way, I shouldn't have this many of that, I want you to tell yourself, no, actually, that's not true. It's just the old me. It's just the old me talking about, how I thought things were supposed to be. We're going to let all that go. We're going to declutter all those ideas, right? Because they're not true. That's just like this old protective mechanism that's trying to come up and rear its ugly head. We're gonna be like, wait, no, I forgot. No decluttering rules. And then the second thing, we can make it simple when we have a group and when we have community there to pave the way for us. So good. All right, that's what I have for you this week. Make sure you tune in next week for episode number 25, because next week we're going to be covering all of those obstacles that are outside you that may be keeping you stuck. Things like, your family. As much as we love them, sometimes they do tend to try and get in our way. Or maybe it's your health, or maybe it's your job, or your commitments, or your financial situation, or where you live, the weather, right? There's all of these things outside ourselves that tend to crop up and cause all kinds of trouble. That's what we're going to be talking about next week. Take care, everyone. I'll see you next week. That's all we have for you today. If you enjoyed this podcast, would you leave us a review? It would really help us get the word out. To start your decluttering journey, go to thedeclutteringclub.com. That is declutteringclub.com. I'll see you next time.